What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Virtual. I am Zane here with Ronnie. Ronnie, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Yeah, things have been exciting kind of on my end. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
back in
Well,
town and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, first of all, I hope everybody had a great holiday weekend, at least here in the U.S. Hope you guys stayed safe. The fireworks across the country looked kind of insane. I'm talking about the illegal ones. So, yeah, it was. Yeah, I know the last couple of I want to say weeks, but really just the last week and a half or so have been crazy for me as well. I know you're back in Chicago now after being
yeah,
out for what, a couple months.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's
So
nice to be home. So just a lot of stuff to do, a lot of dust to
yeah,
clean and all that kind of stuff. So
hopefully get back to some kind of routine here. So
yeah,
especially now that the holiday's over, I feel like there's no more short weeks and things like that. So we'll see how stuff rolls. But guys, we have skipped game talk for 2 weeks now, so just calling ourselves out and
hmm
excited to actually do a game talk today. Although this is going to be a little bit different. We actually want to talk about the Steam sale because it's relevant right now and it is going on until this Thursday or July 9th. And we just thought it would be fun for us to kind of go through the list. We both have our top picks, and that's just like one title that I think is a must own, especially at whatever the price point is. So how about I jump in and then you can give yours, and then I was thinking we'll just go through the list and
sure.
and see what we think. Is it what's that show? Deal or No Deal? Like is if it's one of those situations. So let me go ahead and share my screen with this. And my game is Raw Data. Now, this was actually one of the first games that I played, thanks to Ronnie, that I got
hmm
introduced to in VR. To me, it is an absolute no-brainer. I think for the price point, it's normally $40, which it's an older game, so I don't know that $40 is is something that you want to spend, especially when there's a lot of new content out there. But right now, it's $8, 80% off. For me, again, that's my no-brainer pick. I think that it's something that needs to be in everybody's Steam library, and obviously, I have a emotional attachment to the game or emotional affinity for the game just due to the fact that it was one of the first titles that I played. But I think it really stands the test of time. So that is mine, Raw Data. Ronnie, what do you
and
got?
well, I'm
Oh,
gonna jump on yours real quick, and just to mention, I mean, I this was kind of something I noticed going through all the different pages in the Steam sale. All the Servio stuff is like cut really significant.
heavily
Like,
discounted.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all like 75 to even 80% off. So I think just in general, it's a good idea to go and check out all the
Hmm.
Servios VR games because,
It's a good
like,
call. Yeah.
yeah, Creed is on sale. Yeah, I mean, I think all their games
I
really.
saw
So
Battle Week was on sale too.
yeah, so I mean, so that's just like a no-brainer, I think, for anyone. They
Hmm.
make really, really high quality VR titles. Just
Yeah.
they're all so different from each other.
Hmm.
So I almost think it's, if you're a Sprint Vector I saw, which is a really cool, like, kind of,
Race.
yeah, running racing type game. So I mean,
Hmm.
all their games are really good. So depending on what you're into, I think you'll find something from them that's heavily discounted. So
Yeah.
um,
No, good point. Good call.
yeah. But yeah, moving
All right.
to my pick, and it was really hard because I did come up with like kind of a long list of lots of titles that are heavily discounted. But I mean, the one that I thought if I had to pick one that I wanted to talk about, it isn't that heavily discounted. I just think it's so good that if you haven't played it yet, like, now is
Hmm.
the time.
Yeah.
If you have a PC VR system,
Why don't you give the
then
title? Well, I
yeah,
mean, it's showing on the screen, but
you should play Half-Life Alex. So
yeah.
that's what, and obviously this is I mean, we're talking about the Steam VR sale. So, I mean, everybody that's interested in this episode probably has, a strong enough PC to run some of these games. So,
Hmm.
and really Half-Life Alex does work as far as I've heard on on a wide range of systems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're playing VR titles on the PC, chances are you'll be able to run it pretty well. But it's just such a good game, and really, I think it's kind of a capstone for where I, I'd almost say it's the most polished kind of first gen VR title in the sense of, like, I think there's some titles out there that almost feel more second gen than maybe than maybe Half-Life Alyx. Like it doesn't have all the same like physical combat type situations that you like games like Boneworks, for example, or
Yeah.
even like it titles like Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. There are other titles that kind of are more for the hardcore fans, but I think Half-Life Alyx straddles this line between being super accessible, super polished, and just I don't know, super immersive, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if
there was so much hype when this game came out.
oh yeah,
So
it's great. It's
yeah.
really, I mean, hands down. I think overall as a package, it's probably the best VR title that you can really recommend to anyone. So, considering it's 25% off right now, I think
I mean,
you
it's
should
normally a
definitely
high
go and play it.
price point. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's normally so it's a $60 game, which to me that that's in the territory, or really right exactly in the territory of your standard console games, right? When they
yep,
come out, like
yep,
$60. So and all the glowing reviews, it's definitely a game that is at the top of all VR lists. So a 25% off is significant in my
yeah.
opinion. So
No, and it's not a short game. It's not a super long game by console standards either. It's
mhm.
I'd say you'll probably like I beat it my first time, not trying to rush through it or anything, in around I think 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah.
It'll probably take most people, I think, around that time, a little
Mhm.
less or a little more. But what's interesting is they Valve released, kind of, I don't know if they're calling them modding tools. It's been a while since I read about their the dev kit stuff that they released. But basically, people are putting up homemade content now for the game, and my
Mhm.
understanding is a lot of that stuff is really cool. So
Yeah.
I have a bunch of stuff queued and downloaded and ready for me to try on my system. I've been more like adding to them since I was traveling back and forth. I haven't had a chance to play all that stuff yet, but it's definitely a game that I think people from the community will continue to support for a while. And hopefully we'll see more of Half-Life in VR in the future. So,
Mhm.
so that's my
Well,
pick.
all right.
Yeah,
Well, I think both solid games. Let's just run through. I mean, I figure we can run through some of the top sellers here, and I know you have a couple of the games that you wanted to mention, but
sure.
there, like you said, there's just so many deals out there. So
Yeah.
we could really just maybe comment on ones that we feel are absolute are definitely worth it.
Sure. And I mean, these will probably come up a little bit on some of these lists as you go further down, but just to mention, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if there's an easier way to like look up bundles, but I noticed that there's
Uh,
a lot of
the
yeah,
VR Essentials, it really stood out to me because I mean it's 63% off, and it
yep.
includes a bunch of titles that I would deem as some of the best games in VR. So budget. Well, here's a list right here: Super Hot, Arizona Sunshine, Sirento. I know you're a big fan of Thumper. I haven't tried that yet,
Hmm.
but Budget
Yeah.
Cuts, Space Pirate Trainer, Gorn Job Simulator, like that. That it is for
If you
some people.
pick, yeah, if you haven't picked up a lot of these titles, if you're new to VR, I mean, chances are either the Essentials or I even like the VR Pioneer bundle. Some of those games are a little bit older, but they're still really, really good. The VR Fitness bundle is pretty solid. I mean, just in general, especially like you said, the Essentials. If you picked up that
Yep.
bundle, yeah, if you picked up the Essentials bundle and you hadn't played those games, you're going to have a very varied type of VR experience, and they're
Yeah.
all going to be really good. And if you want a more specific experience, you look into some of those other bundles. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll go down the list more. But I mean, if you really haven't tried a ton,
And you're
and
and you're looking to spend on, a significant amount for more content.
yep,
Well, not I shouldn't say significant. Like if you're willing to get if you're willing to stock up, let's put it that way,
yep.
then some of these bundles are definitely worth it and contain a lot of really great games.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't really see. I mean, in most of the lists I was looking at, there weren't really
mhm,
any clear duds or anything. Like sometimes with
yeah.
some of the bundles that Oculus provides, unfortunately,
Mhm.
it'll be like, oh, I want one or two of these games, and
Yeah,
then
you'll get something random in there.
yeah, some of them are super random and really not that great. Well,
Mhm.
all of these bundles, they all look to be like solid entries in each of those bundle categories. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Well, Boneworks, I actually haven't tried that yet, but I know Damon was a big fan, and
yeah, I mean,
20% off. Yeah.
yeah, and I like, but I would say like as far as on that first screen of games, and mine actually looks. It's interesting. Maybe mine doesn't look different than yours, but I remember it being different. Let me
I'm
pull
just
mine
on the
up.
I'm just on the top sellers.
Yeah. Okay. No,
So,
I went top seller. Okay. So yeah, mine's the same now. So,
okay.
I mean, I would say some of these games that I noticed just at the very beginning of the list, they're a little bit
Mhm.
more kind of hardcore type games, but, um, Boneworks and then Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, I'd kind of put in the same category. They're kind of more even. I mean, Blade and Sorcery isn't on sale, but I'd put those games in the same kind of category in terms of they're a little bit more hardcore. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily recommend them for someone that's new to VR. But if you've kind of got your feet wet a little bit and are looking for something a little bit more, uh, in depth, then those games are both
Mhm.
really they offer more physical based like combat type systems. Boneworks is just all physics, and it's physics in a way that is both more realistic than some of these other games, but also more comprehensive. Like it's
Mhm.
like in some ways it's kind of weirder than the real world physics would be because you know you, they try to model like you have an in-game avatar, like a full physical body in the game,
Mhm.
and everything that you're interacting with in the game kind of uses physics based on that. So things like you can break tons of things, you can lift heavy objects, you can all that kind of stuff, and it's all based on like leverage points and like it's kind of a little bit it's hard to explain, but it's not. Yeah, it's both more realistic and less realistic than a game like Half-Life Alex because it tries to model so much. Um,
Gotcha. Okay.
but it's really cool. And same thing. And yes, Saints and Sinners has really really detailed. Like what it does that's kind of different from Half Life is that it really gets into the nitty gritty of hand to hand combat. So you're really like taking it to zombies like
Mhm.
very very intimately, I'd say.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's kind of. And then Super Hot is on there. That's 32% off. Super
Yeah.
Hot VR is great.
Well, we skipped over Skyrim, which is 70% off. So
See,
that's
yeah,
significant. But
it
I
is.
mean, I know the reviews on Skyrim were, or the reception of Skyrim was exactly
Here's the
what you're about to say.
Yeah, here's the thing though with it though. Like I am glad you brought it up because like I was gonna look over it just because I'm not a huge fan of the Skyrim VR
Hmm.
iteration, but supposedly with mods you can really get the game running pretty well. If
Hmm.
you're at all remotely interested and you're willing to kind of give it a shot, now is probably the time to pick it up because it's 70% off. You can pick it up for $18. If you
Yeah.
try it and you're not able to mod it to your satisfaction, you can always return it and get your money back.
True. True.
So it's not a bad time to try it. And like I said, I just for anyone that doesn't have the experience out there, I mean, Google some Skyrim VR mod lists and stuff like that, and really, you know, try if you pull it up and you're immediately turned off by how it because it is a port of a normal flat console slash PC type game brought into VR.
Hmm.
It wasn't a native VR title.
Yeah.
So if it feels wonky at the beginning, try modding it, see if that helps. And I mean some people just swear by it, but other people like me, I never really got into it. So it's
Gotcha.
but it is one of those things. It's probably worth trying for people that are interested.
If you're
Uh,
into the series and the franchise, then I'm sure there's a lot that goes into that type of experience too.
yeah, no, and
Arizona
yeah,
Sunshine here too for
yep,
62% off. You got the whole deluxe edition.
yeah, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, yeah, I think the deluxe edition is the cheapest way to go. You
Hmm.
can just pick up everything.
The Room VR, a Dark Matter. I have actually not tried this yet. Have you?
Played it briefly, but yeah, we need to get deeper into it. I think
Okay.
I think John had a chance to check it out.
Gotcha. Okay, we can
And
get him on for.
I know. I mean, both here Until You Fall is really good. I haven't had a chance to actually play it yet, but I did pick it up when it came out.
Mhm.
Lots of actually, the first person that told me about it was the Containment Initiative developer.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
when we were at Oculus Connect 6, so that was fun. But he was really recommending
Really
it
into
very
it. Yeah.
highly.
Okay.
And
Cool.
then same thing with Onwards 50% off.
You got Fallout VR for 70% off too.
Yeah, and that's similar to
The
but
Skyrim.
and for some reason it seems like more people have latched onto Skyrim VR than
Mhm.
Fallout VR, but I could be wrong.
Did you ever play VTOL? I'm on page 2 now. Maybe
Yeah.
let's just go through page 2.
Yep, and I'm there
And then,
too. And
okay,
then I
cool.
can bring up some just
And then I know you had a couple others you wanted to mention. So
yeah.
VTOL,
Yeah,
VTOL was
VTOL.
cool.
I want to say you played it too.
I did.
If we
Yeah.
had the develop, yeah, VTOL is really cool. I haven't actually had a chance to. I keep saying I'm going to talk about my HOTAS setup
Yeah.
on the podcast. I haven't
I'm
had a
sure it'd
chance
be
to.
totally different now with that type of.
Oh, for sure. I bet it'd be. I mean, at this time I've mostly stuck with what is it hold on, Ultra Wings right now, just because I wanted to get used to it. Because
Yeah.
Ultra Wings is a little bit more like simplified. VTOL I think is going to be a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
But I've heard VTOL is awesome with the HOTAS. So
Well, I mean, even playing it non-HOTAS, I really enjoyed it. Now the thing is, like, I don't know. It's tough to justify. Well, actually, you know what? Let me come back to this for VTOL, just because. And I mean, when I say come back on another episode, because I think we were playing it when it was still in. Was it beta or
I'm not sure.
What's the Steam term?
Early access.
Early access, yeah. So I like it's been a while, and I think like you're saying, the experience would be completely different with the HOTAS setup too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to make sure. I'm pretty sure it supports HOTAS.
Oh, budget cuts off 66% for both 1 and 2. That's for $20. That's not bad,
dude. And that's definitely solid. That's going to be a ton of gameplay for people out there looking for.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not only the thing that's cool about budget cuts is it has, especially the second one, has a really cool story. But it's such an active game. Like you'll be hiding behind cover and really like getting your whole body into it. And I think
that demo was so cool way back when. I mean, and again, like it's we're dating ourselves now, but this is the early months of VR. That budget cuts demo was like everything. Everybody was looking forward to these games. So it's definitely something worth checking out.
Gorn is really cool, but it's very violent and bloody, as the name would suggest.
Gorn. Yeah.
But that's worth checking out. Like for people that don't know about it. I haven't
tried Trover Saves the Universe or Zero Caliber yet.
I have not either.
Seem like top sellers. Okay, well, we'll have to do a little research on those.
Yeah.
Job Simulator. I mean, we've talked about on this podcast at length.
Yeah.
So,
and Vacation Simulator was also
Vacation Simulator as well.
They're kind of different. Like I almost think Job Simulator is kind of more just like open. Like you kind of have a little bit more freedom to just kind of mess around and like. Not that you don't in Vacation Simulator, but I just noticed, especially watching my nieces and nephews play, that Job Simulator is a little bit more free flow, and Vacation Simulator they kind of go from task to task because there's that open like Vacation Simulator has kind of the meta, like you're going to collect what was it? It's not like I guess is it photos of? I'm trying to remember what it is that you collect from place to place when you're.
I thought it was photos.
It might be.
Yeah, I mean, Job Simulator to me, it's like there
postcards, maybe. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, hold on. Job Simulator for me, like, there's literally nothing to do, right? Like, it's just and I say that in a good way because it's like it's very open. Kind of sandbox style where you can just do whatever you want in your environment, right? Like whereas you said, not that there's necessarily a narrative with Vacation Simulator, but there's definitely a progression of things that the game tends to lead you on.
Yep. But it is a more polished and kind of. I really appreciated the characters and that kind of stuff like that were played up more. I thought in Vacation Simulator, just like the interactions. So that was cool. Like so both games highly recommended.
All right, I'm just gonna call it a couple here, and then we'll go to your list. But Sirento, I am and still I was and still am a big fan of. So 30% off isn't bad. Borderlands, did you try that one? Because
No, I mean, in general there wasn't great coverage. Like people tended to not love it, and yeah,
fantastic for 40% off. I think it's definitely a really cool experience.
Yeah, I had Moss on my list.
VR similar.
Jet Island is really, really cool, like in terms of just like open world traversal in a huge environment. Like if you're looking to really dive into how crazy VR can get in terms of speed, in terms of like expansive like world traversal type systems, Jet Island is amazing.
And well, let's just finish with Space Pirate Trainer on this one. I mean, this is a must-have on anybody's VR list. One of the early pioneers, early titles, and for $9, totally worth it. Because I mean,
amazing.
Yeah,
it's like unlimited. I mean, you can kind of like a classic arcade game. You can play it forever. I mean, it never gets sick of it.
All right, cool. Let's jump to your list, and I'll pull up the games as you talk about them.
Sure. So, I mean, we've already covered kind of a lot of them. I mean, later on, Creed is 7, and I know I mentioned it, but yeah, Creed and Sprint Vector are both about 75% off. Those are both amazing games.
Sprint Vector. Okay. Well, yeah. Just go through this. I'm just going to be pulling up.
I'll mention we really liked Contractors, and that's 50% off. And I mean, like most VR multiplayer games, you never know exactly how many people are still active playing the titles. But Contractors is really, really, really fun, kind of semi-realistic, semi-arcadey type multiplayer shooter.
In that vein, Onward is 50% off as well. So for $12.50. So if you're looking for a couple shooters to get into, I think they each have their own different charm. Onward's obviously more popular, but I think, how do I label us, Ronnie? We're not, we're not great at those types of games. So it was fun for us to look at the Contractors where the player base was much similar to our caliber.
I agree.
To our skill level and to our kind of like not enthusiasm for the game, but just like, so Contractors was a lot of fun when we jumped into it.
Yep. And then, so Dirt Rally 2 was earlier on the list. That's 75% off, which is a really great deal. It's usually $40. Now it's like 10. Res Infinite is 50% off. That's a really, really cool kind of rhythm type game. You should go and check out the video. It's not a first person, like it's very, very different than most rhythm games in VR. So check it out just to see if you're interested in it. It's third person.
I got the video playing. Keep talking.
Yeah. And then let me see. So moving down again, 11 table tennis VR is 50% off. Yeah. That's really the best ping pong game that you can get in VR, hands down, regardless of the system. So Talos Principle VR is 85% off. And in general, the Crow Team stuff, they always have their Crow Team VR bundle, and that's always an insane deal. And a lot of their games are usually they are ports of traditional games brought into VR. But
man, all those Serious Sam games are so fun.
Yeah, they're done super well. That's what I was gonna say. Like, it's just, even though they're ports, these are examples of ports done right. So they feel very native. They have tons of options to make them play just the way you want them in VR. So unlike kind of the Bethesda title, like with Skyrim VR and Fallout, where you kind of have to mess with them to get them to work. Like all the Crow Team stuff, the Serious Sam games, the Talos Principle, those games, you might want to tweak some settings in their own menus, but they're excellent conversions to VR.
93% off, $15.
Yeah,
you get 4 Serious Sam games and the Talos Principle.
Yeah, it was very.
I didn't see this. This might have been my top pick, actually.
The funny thing is, I couldn't remember if we had suggested it like in past years. Like
we may have, but I mean, I'm sure.
So that was no. Otherwise, it for sure for me. Like, I wanted to talk about Half-Life just because if you haven't played it, you need to. But yeah, besides that, the Crow Team, it's kind of like if you don't have these titles in your collection already, it's kind of a no for $15.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
even if you don't play it right away, it's worth it.
100%.
But yeah, that's mostly. I mean, the other things on my list, Aspire 1 is worth checking out. It's 50% off. Pixel Rip 1985 is 50% off. We
Put on
talked
a recent one, yeah.
exactly, and that's a great game. The sequel isn't off, but if you're interested in picking up the first one,
Yeah. This is the time to pick it up. Yep.
yeah. And then Apex Construct, really cool single player experience with a great storyline, kind of post apocalyptic.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the last three,
I'm enjoying it.
yeah, the last three I had was Form 60 is 65% off. Fuji is 30%, and I'm a huge fan of that game. And then Free Diver, I think Triton Down is the last. Yeah. You can go. Yeah, Fuji. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
I'll just go straight to Free Diver.
Yep.
Fuji was spelled with two eyes.
Two eyes. And Fuji's just great. It's only 30% off, but that game is super relaxing and such a it's just a different type of experience. So
this game's only $5, less than $5.
Yeah. And it's not a super long game, but it's amazing. Oh, is that
No.
Yeah. It's also
Free Divers, yeah.
It's also not a super long game, but very well done and very different than, I mean, you actually are swimming and holding breath, and it's like a very tense underwater experience where you're basically going in to save people from a sinking ship. So
this was like on my list of games to try out for a long time, so I gotta grab it now that it's less than $5.
No, it's worth it's worth it. It's really cool. So
all right, awesome.
But yeah, those are really the last one I had is Vanishing Realms Collection, 63% off. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's a solid kind of dungeon crawler type.
It was Vanishing Realms 2? Oh no, Surrendered Rift. Okay.
Yeah, so there a sequel did come out.
I see. This is why I love the Steam sale, because we are so focused on this podcast on all the new content coming out because there's just so much every single week.
It's crazy.
So I feel like there's definitely stuff that slips through the cracks. So we apologize for that, guys. But it's we're just trying to keep up. Essentially, is what it is. But
and I'll do one more honorable mention is because I haven't had a chance to try it myself, but I'm always really tempted.
What you got?
Especially during these is Tabletop Simulator. It's 50% off, and you can play it in VR or non-VR. But it just seems really cool for people, especially in quarantine or whatever. If you are interested in tabletop, card games and all that kind of stuff, basically it's like an open-ended. You can set up all your own rules and pretty much play like any kind of game with people online, and you can do it. Like I said, this game you can either do it VR or non-VR, but it's very highly rated. Like people apparently love it. So.
Overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. So anyways, so that's always something that I'm thinking about picking up. Like I'm not a huge tabletop gamer, but it seems like a no-brainer if you are.
Yeah. Awesome, man. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this episode up. Guys, there are a ton of games. If you are looking, make sure if you are looking and planning on buying games, make sure you get them now because, the Steam sales are always a fantastic time to do that. You have until Thursday. So we're recording this on Monday evening. That gives you a couple days before it's out. And we got to wait until maybe the fall sale, the Halloween sale?
Yeah, probably. I mean, otherwise, summer sale is always a great time to pick them up.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. All right. Well, we will be back later this week, Ronnie, with some news talk. And until then, guys, have a fantastic rest of your week. We will chat with you very soon and enjoy some VR. Later.